White powder beaches, palm trees, luxurious new houses, picturesque waterfront parks. The list of gorgeous things I can show you in the Tampa Bay area is very long. But everywhere can't be beautiful, right? Is it possible that parts of Tampa are actually pretty ugly? Hey everybody, Melanie Atkinson, realtor with Smith & Associates in beautiful Tampa Bay, Florida. Today I am going to cut through all of the Chamber of Commerce, everything is perfect bullcrap that we hear all the time, and talk to you about the ugly truth of the Tampa Bay area. This episode was actually inspired by a buyer who was coming from out of state and just flat out told me, it's ugly here. At first, it kind of felt like she was saying one of my kids was ugly, but then I thought about it and you know what? She's kind of right. There are parts of the Tampa Bay area that are actually really ugly. In defense of my cherished city, every city has ugly parts to it, but because there's so many people moving down to the Tampa Bay area, I want to make sure all of you guys have an accurate idea of what it's like, so when you visit, your expectations are met or not met. The big ugly picture of the Tampa Bay area starts with the fact that a lot of it was built a long time ago. And a lot of what was built a long time ago isn't exactly what we consider pretty by today's standards. There are a lot of old, squatty commercial strip centers lining the streets. A lot of the houses that were built back in the mid-1900s are really small and squatty and block houses that were built to withstand hurricanes, not to win architecture contests. The same is true for a lot of the older beach condos and hotels. They're built for sturdiness, not for beauty. From street to street in the Tampa Bay area, things don't always match. You can be looking at some old commercial buildings one minute, take a turn and be in a beautiful community the next. We have industrial parks and warehouses, a ridiculous amount of lawyer billboards, and a confusing amount of strip clubs. Now, don't think that the old areas of town are the least expensive. In fact, the opposite is really true. The oldest and sometimes ugliest areas happen to be some of our most expensive and desirable areas. Think about it. The areas that were developed first were near the city centers and the beaches. Those are still the areas that everyone wants to be at, but yet everything was built a long time ago, and a lot of it doesn't look all that great now, which is why I have a lot of clients with big budgets in South Tampa and downtown St. Pete scratching their head wondering why a $2 million house is next to some tiny house with an overgrown oak tree. Add in the fact that a lot of power lines are still above ground, and it leaves a lot of people confused. But they still want to live there because the location can't be beat. Personally, I live in South Tampa. I drive by a whole bunch of ugly houses. You just don't see them after a while. And I wouldn't give up my location for anything. I talk about this a little bit more in the South Tampa video I did. Check that one out. So what about newer neighborhoods? Those have to be prettier, right? Not necessarily. Depending on where you're looking, who the developer was, and who the builders are, it might be a different kind of ugly. A lot of the newer houses in newer neighborhoods have very boxy designs. The houses are very close together, and they take down all of the original trees and put up these tiny little sprouts that are going to take a decade to grow into anything substantial. A lot of times I hear from people that these neighborhoods just lack charm. But that's where you find new construction. People will overlook the generic ugliness of these communities to get those new houses in neighborhoods with lots of really great community amenities. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But all of the palm tree lined streets makes driving beautiful around here, right? Not necessarily. We do have our fair share of really pretty streets here in the Tampa Bay area, but we also have a whole bunch of not so pretty streets. One thing people are surprised about a lot, and I hear it from people from other parts of the country, is when they get here, they don't realize how many oak trees are actually here in the Tampa Bay area. Now, I love a good oak tree canopy. It's gorgeous. It creates a lot of shade from the hot, hot sun. But as I said a minute ago, oak trees can also be a mess if they're not manicured correctly. Plus, they tear up sidewalks and streets and the foundations of houses. In the fall and spring, they dump acorns and leaves and pollen everywhere. Personally, I much prefer the shallow tree root systems and lack of pollen in the palm trees. But when you come here, expect to see a lot of oaks. I don't really want to call out one city in particular in this video, but I feel like it would be unfair for all of you viewers if I don't mention this particular city because I get asked about it a lot. Apollo Beach is in the southeastern part of Hillsborough County, about 25 to 30 minutes away from downtown. It has beautiful waterfront houses and lovely neighborhoods, don't get me wrong, but it also has the Big Bend Power Station. And it is hard to miss it when you're driving to Apollo Beach and you see those smokestacks. A lot of my clients who initially call about the Apollo Beach area will drive down there and decide that they just don't want to see that every time they're driving to their beautiful waterfront home. Again, it feels a little unfair to single out one particular city because every city in this area has its ugly parts to it, but this is a very unique one and I want you guys to have the correct expectations. Here's the deal. The Tampa area is a thriving, bustling region and growing every day. It has unbelievably beautiful parts to it and some not so beautiful parts to it. In a lot of cases, you have to drive through some ugly parts to get to the pretty parts. That's not terribly unusual. It's just not possible for every inch of the entire area to be postcard worthy. What I will tell you is some of these so-called ugly parts of our city have some of the best local restaurants and bakeries and shops. The history of this city is not always glamorous. We have industrial roots here in the Tampa Bay area, and we are proud of those roots. If you're looking for shiny and perfect and glitzy, this might not be the right city for you. But if you're looking for a down-to-earth, work hard, getting better all the time city, then come on down. We'd be happy to show you our imperfect perfection. Now, on that note, if you're looking to buy or sell a house in the Tampa Bay area, give me a call or send me a text. I'm happy to help. If you're looking for something else to watch on this channel, check out the video I did about the worst things about living in Florida, kind of on the same theme as this video. And if you enjoyed this video or any others, please click the subscribe button. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. With love, Melanie.